I'm Samantha Brown, professional organizer, decluttering specialist, and business coach. I created Pro Organizers Coach podcast to empower you to reach new heights in your business. I am on a mission to build a supportive sisterhood of passionate professional organizers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just getting started, this podcast is for you. Hey friends, welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast and YouTube channel. Today is so exciting. So I have Shawn Lemon, and he is actually the digital organizer. So what we do for our clients in their homes, he does for us and other business owners and different people in their digital space. So today is going to be such a good conversation, and it's one that I promise you're going to want to listen to all the way through, because we have so many different topics to get into, but it's all so relevant to what we're doing so our business can actually succeed. So thank you, Shawn, for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation. I always love talking to other organizers, whether it's digital or physical.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit real quick about how you got into this and about who
Yeah.
you are, and then we'll jump into the topic.
Yeah. So I'm Shawn Lemon, founder of the Digital Organizer. I live in the Nashville area, and most of my team does. And I'm a dad of almost a 3-year-old right now. And so that's kind of my world outside of this. But I got into this from the working at the Apple Store. So I was the person that you could sit down with and have someone teach you how to use your new Apple products back when they had that membership available. And I saw so many people who had an old PC that they were transferring to their data to the new Mac. And no matter where you go, there you are, all that mess just came right over. And I'm supposed to just teach someone how to use the software. And yet they couldn't get past the mess. They couldn't see beyond that and even learn because they were so overwhelmed by this. It's not everyone, but it's the type of people that you're working with too. And they started hiring me to come out to the house because no one was filling this gap. And then, eventually I left Apple and went full time doing this. And that was 11 years ago now.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I know. Congrats on the success and on,
Thanks.
doing this and, seeing a need and being like, you know what, I can fill that need,
Yeah.
right? Which is what a lot of us do as organizers and as helpers.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go into this a few different ways, but at first I would love to kind of talk about the fact that just in general, like the online stuff, like our files, our Google Drive, our like all the different things that we have to keep up with as business owners is first off in and of itself so overwhelming because there's so many apps, there's so many things. Like, what do I use and how do I use it and when do I use it? But the other piece of this is if there's someone listening that's, a little bit further along, or even like me, sometimes I catch myself going back into my computer and I'm like, why did I not organize this from the beginning? Because sometimes it gets so out of hand, like what you were saying with the people that come into Apple, is then just like our clients, you're so overwhelmed that you're like, I don't even know where to start or how to get this back in a place that it feels manageable. And so I'd love to kind of get a few tips from you of if someone was just starting out so they don't end up in the hot mess express like I'm in currently. So if you're just getting started or you're, even like a year in or so, what are some tips that you have for just in general, like the typical things that, as business owners or people that use computers, what are some of the stuff that you would suggest doing or just being aware of to stay organized?
Yeah. So I typically like to recommend a few different tools. The first one would be using Google Workspace so that you can purchase your own domain. So my domain is thedigitalorganizer.com, and I want to be able to send from info at the digital organizer and whatever. So this makes it professional. But not only is it professional, it gives us the ability to create what are called shared drives, which are a different type of folder than what we use in a normal like Gmail, Google Drive account, where it says My Drive on the left-hand side. In a Google Workspace, you can have shared drives. And this is really important because if you hire somebody to help you, like a VA, offshore VA, or something along those lines, it's a very common thing to do right now and super helpful. But if they start creating files for you from their Gmail account and they put them in your folder, they own all of that stuff. So if they stop doing that and delete the account that they were using for the work that they're doing for you, all of your stuff disappears.
Mm.
So that's kind of a big thing, is like making sure that we've got professional calendars, email, and document storage so that we are set up right in the first place. So anyone who collaborates with us and creates things for us, we own. So that's kind of one of the tools. Do you want me to stop there, or should we talk about another one?
No, I mean, yeah, if you got another one, let's
Yeah.
go for it.
Next one is password management tool. So it's called 1Password, is the one that we typically recommend. And it is so phenomenal because we can store our passwords in there. We can share them with other people, but we can also store our two-step verification codes in here. So if you've ever worked with anyone else and they needed to get into one of your accounts, and you know about the whole two-step verification thing and having to coordinate with them for them to get into the account, it can be a real pain and slow you down. So we love integrating the two-step verification codes into the logins so that, when you're sharing with other people, they just have access when they need it. And when that person leaves, you can revoke access really easily, know what passwords they were exposed to, and you can change those for your own security.
Oh, I love, actually, this just happened last night, so
Yeah.
obviously it's very relevant. So I have a VA, she's fantastic, she's a member of my community, I love her, shout out. But she actually just got a job at the embassy in Spain, and so, of course, that's, a lot more, a better job than just working for me as a VA. But now I'm at this place where I'm trying to kind of exactly that. Like, okay, well,
Mhm.
now how do I, kind of let someone else step into the role that she was in?
Yeah.
And it takes so much effort. And then one of my other members who I was like, okay, well, would you like to come in? Because I like asking my members for help or if they want some
Sure.
extra work, because a lot of them are very amazing at specific things anyways,
Yes. Yeah.
and they're members, so they know what POC is. They know
Right.
me, they know my brand. So anyways, so one of the other members was like, "Hey, I can help with like some of the email marketing and some different stuff."
Mhm.
It took us, I think, 4 different times of her trying to get into, I think it was Kit or something, but with the two-step verification where it would
Uh-huh.
send me an email and then I'd have to go and say, "I trust this device," and then it
Mhm.
it was sending me on my thing to so then I finally had to send her the email that it was sending me, and I mean, it was just like, "Oh my goodness." And so I knew there had to be, like, an easier way, and it's so funny that you recommend that because she sent me the link last night to 1Password. Yeah.
Yes. So, we've got more social proof, we'll call it. It's just an incredible tool that makes things so much easier. I mean, just to onboard someone, it's you just invite them, and then once they set up their account, you just tell them which folders you want them to be able to access, and it's done. So, yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
an
Yeah.
absolute necessity for us.
100%. And, for those of you listening, you may be like, well, this doesn't apply to me because I'm just, it's just me and my business.
Right.
Yes, it may just be you and your business at the moment. But at some point in the future, even if you are just wanting someone to create some Canva graphics for you, or
Mhm.
you're just wanting them to help you with some email marketing, like you will get to a place in your business where you want to do those things. That's just the world we live in now. And as a CEO or an owner of a business, if you don't learn to delegate as you're able to, or like as you start to grow, you're going to get so overwhelmed that you're burnout anyway. So that's why, even if you're not at that place yet, setting those systems up now is going to save you so much time and headache in the future. Okay, so if we have Google Workspace, and by the way, when we create our Google Workspace and have the domain, make sure that is the one you are signed into when you create your Google business profile. Don't create your Google business profile from your personal Gmail, and then, because then you have to go back and reintegrate it and all the stuff. So go ahead and get Google Workspace. Like you said, get the domain and then make sure you're logged into that one to set up your Google business profile and anything you're doing with your business. So then it all falls under that same Google profile.
That makes it a lot easier, especially if you got a YouTube channel and other things like that. One thing to note though is you can always add another owner to your Google Business profile so that other people can manage it. So what I like to do is share it both between a personal Gmail and the Google Workspace, just in
Mm,
case later on down the road you decide you want to move from Google Workspace to something else that would suit you better. And when you shut that account down, that's not locked in. So you actually have two different owners. You can do the same thing with your YouTube channel by converting it to a brand account. So, and then once you do that, you can add additional managers to your channel or
I love
owners.
that.
Yeah,
I'm
owners.
writing it down as you're saying it. I'm like, okay, great. That's what I'm doing. Love it. And then, so is there any other tools like that you all recommend?
When you're ready, I would say consider using a project management tool like Asana. That's what we use. We recommend typically three different ones: Asana, Hive, or ClickUp. We like Asana best just because it's on Rails. Like the format, how you're supposed to use it is pretty obvious, and it's broken down into logical steps, and it's really easy to get up and running. Whereas ClickUp, it's very customizable, super cool, but if you don't know what your system looks like or what you want it to be, you could spend so much time trying to build this thing out and then really not even use it in the first place. So that would
And
be
then
a
for
great
those of
tool.
us that don't know, Asana is it like a CRM or?
Sort of. There are actually three different types of CRMs. You've got a sales CRM like Pipedrive. You've got a contact CRM like HubSpot, Zoho, and those can also, they have lots of other things that you can do with it, sales as well. So more contact management, and those are usually together with sales. Then you have a CRM like Kit or ConvertKit or MailChimp for sending out email stuff. And then we've got a CRM for projects, and that would be like your project management software, like Asana. And most people, once their business is really established, they're going to want, each one of those three things, and they should usually be separate. If you think, oh, I'm going to start off with HubSpot now because that's on all of the websites, say it's the best CRM for contact management and everything, and I can grow into it. Well, growing into it jumps you up to like $800 a month to add the marketing tools. And for a small business, that's just completely not possible. So I use ConvertKit for marketing. I use Pipedrive for capturing leads. I use Asana for tracking my projects. But I really grew into using Pipedrive, which is a sales CRM. If you're just trying to track people who are interested in your service and you don't have a massive amount of leads coming in, then you should just actually do that in your project management software. Keep it all in one place. Don't load yourself up with a bunch of bills. You can actually do double time with a lot of these tools.
I love it. Yeah, we've recently started using Trello to keep up with the podcast episodes, and
Yeah.
it has been life-changing to the fact that I can go in and just scroll to, like, which episode I'm at and have, like,
Uh-huh.
that media kit and just different things.
Yes.
And it's just the fact that, like, keep it simple, but also have it organized in a way, like, it really saves so and I know, we say this, we're organizers, you would think that we know these things, but a lot of us love organization as in, like, in the home, the
Mhm.
actual organizing, but
Yeah.
the second it goes to the business stuff or the digital stuff, we all get a little like, because we don't know that. That's not
Yeah.
our area of expertise. And so I love 2 things. I love the community that I have, which is my group coaching community. And the reason I mention that is because you're gonna come do one of our guest expert workshops, and
Yep.
I'm super excited to have you come do that. And the reason I mention that is because as organizing in the home, we got this, but the business
Mhm.
stuff and the digital stuff, you need support. You need people that have been there, done that, that know what they're doing to help guide you and not just a random, like, oh, I went into a Facebook group and I asked other people what they thought and I got 500 different answers. And then you're more confused. And so I love that I have that community. So the point is come join the community if you want to be there for his workshop, because the other thing I love is the fact that when I have a guest come in, we do a Q&A at the end. And I think that is huge because a lot of people don't have access to people like you,
Yeah.
especially when we're first starting our business. we don't have access to the experts to be like, hey, here's my specific question. Can you
Yeah.
answer this for me?
Yeah. And it's hard because the school of YouTube will give you so many different answers, or the Facebook groups and whatever, and a lot of it's really bad advice. I go on ChatGPT all the time to try and solve problems for me, and do the research for me. And the amount of times that you're like, "This is wrong. I know this is
Yeah.
wrong," and then I have to go and do this research manually. So, but yeah, we've
Yeah. And
got some good guides for all of this sort of thing. Actually, I've got a guide that you can have that I set up just for you guys. It'll be in the show notes, but the digitalorganizer.com/POC, and that's file organization because it's, working in the physical space, you're thinking, how can I organize all of my stuff so that I can do this task easily so that it makes sense when I'm here, I have everything that I need. And that's what we're doing digitally. And I've got a whole format for organizing your files, naming conventions, but really taking this whole approach of what are you using and kind of making a workshop type thing out of your digital space. And I think that'll translate really well for you all.
yeah, no, I'm super excited about that. And thank you, honestly, because even something as simple as, and that's why I love that you said Google Workspace, right? Because
Hmm.
even something as simple as the photos we take, like the before and after
Yeah.
photos, and,
Hmm.
when we do a consultation or whatever, at first, it doesn't seem like a lot. But the second
Yeah.
you're working with 5 or 6 different clients every single week, like I
Hmm.
scroll through my photos and I'm like, oh, wait, I did do that set. Like there's so much information that,
Yeah.
if your files are organized in a way of like Susie's organizing sessions or,
Hmm.
January 2025 Susie or however you want to organize it, but learning to organize those things and putting all of the information in there. Plus, what that does is if Susie reaches back out to you a year from now saying, hey, I need help in this other area, then you can go into that file, look and see like, oh yeah, that's who that was. Cause sometimes we
Yep.
need a reminder of who it is.
Hmm.
This is the work we've already done. And you could even upload into a file like a notes or a document where you took notes. Cause I tell my girls all the time during the consultation,
Yeah.
take notes of other areas that they mentioned
Hmm.
that are pain points for them so you can reach
Yes.
back out later.
Yep.
And so you can keep all of that in that one folder that says Susie, January 2025 or whatever.
Hmm.
So I love that you're offering the file organization because I think that's where a lot of us go wrong is we don't from the beginning organize our systems in that way to where we can easily find the information.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. For example, on this of what you're talking about, one of my main folders at the top level is a folder called clients because we're surface based like you. And there are two folders up at the top, prospects. So these are people who have not become clients yet, and inactive clients. And then all of the rest of the folders are only clients I'm working with right now. So it's
Mm,
very focused. And inside of that, I'm going to have, Samantha Brown inside of there. I'm going to have appointment notes, which is a template that I use over and over again, the same notes format for every sales call. And then we add every session we have with that client, we're adding to that same file so we can see in one place all of the notes that we have. And we can even comment and tag our client in it so that they can talk about something if we want to. And photos, any sort of uploads and files that we gather for them, they all live in that client file so that
mm,
all of it is together, just like you're talking about. And photos should probably go in there instead of in your camera roll. If you want to
mhm,
have an album of the best shots, a few curated ones in your photo library so that you can pull up an iPad or iPhone and quickly show off, cool. But maybe put all of the photos in a file in that client's folder so that
mhm.
they're all right there.
Yeah, I love that to where it's because that's the thing is then you end up bogging down your own camera and your own
Yep.
phone. And before you know it, you're like, and then you're scrolling back through, like, for instance, this just happened yesterday. I love when stuff happens right before I record because then I have good examples. But I just had a client reach out and she was like, hey, so I really want to do a pegboard in my craft room. Long story short, I was like, "Oh, yeah." I said, "I did that exact pegboard with a previous client."
Yeah.
Well, if my stuff was organized the way it should be, it should have been as simple as going to that client's folder. But
Mm-hmm.
no, no, no. I have all the photos crazy, not organized. So here I go for like 40 minutes scrolling through because I couldn't remember what month I worked with her. Because, in photos, it has it in like chronological
Right.
order. So I had to go back through and look for literally, because it was someone I worked with like 2.5 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
to find those photos, it honestly took me like 40 minutes to find the specific one where if
Wow.
my stuff was organized the way you're talking about, it would have taken a minute and then I could have, sent her the photos that I was trying to find.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely so that actually leads into what if someone already has their business because like I was telling you, my listeners fall into kind of two categories. It's the we're just
Uh-huh.
getting started or it's the we're already working with clients, we're a little bit farther along in business. So if someone like me is like, okay, that sounds great, Shawn, but now what? What do I do? I've got all this stuff everywhere. Where would I even start to get it under control?
Yeah. Well, start by going to that download in the show notes because that's going to give you the guide and you don't have to come back to this episode and play and pause, to figure out the process. But on a high level, what we're first trying to do is consolidate everything to one single location. And you don't need to overthink this because once everything is consolidated into one place, very, very easy to move it anywhere else. So the organizing is the work. Moving it is very simple later on down the road. So get started, everything from your Dropbox, OneDrive, iCloud, all of the different places and get them all in one place. Then trash stuff that you know that you don't need. After that, what's the stuff that you've just consolidated that you want to keep, but it's unlikely you're ever going to look at it again? Let's create an archive folder and dump all of that stuff in there so that when we're organizing the rest of the files that are actually relevant, we have a much smaller set that's easier to organize. And then once we've gone through that exercise, if you want to apply it to your archive, you can do that. And so then what we've just done is looked through all of these folders for deleting and things that we can archive. We're primed to think about a new folder structure of how we want to organize going forward. What do I look for when I'm thinking about this? When I'm thinking about pictures, do I think about client? Do I think about pictures? And however you go to look for something and naturally think about that needs to weigh in heavily on how you set up your folder structure.
You could totally work with a client organizing their home.
Yeah.
Every single thing you just said is exactly what I do with my clients in their
Right.
homes. It's literally like, it's okay. What is it we can get out of here to like, so it's no longer in our sight? My
Mhm.
clients are always like, why are you constantly moving? Just wait till the end. And I'm like, no, no, no. We're getting all this stuff out of our line of sight because if we keep it here, we're keeping ourselves stressed out with all the extra stuff that we
Yeah.
don't need to worry about. And then once we are down to the stuff that is relevant, where would you go to look for that thing? Because clients are always like, well, where should I put this? And my question is, well, where would you go to look for it? Or if
Mhm.
we're labeling something, I'm like, what do you think? What would you call this bin?
Yeah.
So because I need it to work for them moving forward. So I love that you said that because it's not a one size fits all, but it's still the same
It's the
steps to
same
get you there.
process. There's the
Yes.
same principles, but we have to work with them of how do you do it? How do you think? And,
Mhm.
then also, well, it could be I could do it this way or I could do it this way or I could do it this way. Okay, let's incorporate that into the name of the files. So no matter how you look for it, that file is going to show up.
Yes.
It's
Well,
funny
and
that you're Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and renaming things. That's
Yeah.
the other thing that I think is a huge thing I wish I would have known in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because when you download like a Zoom call or photos or anything,
Mhm.
it gives it a GM235, some
Yep.
random thing that
Mhm.
you can't search for it
Yep.
whatsoever. And so renaming photos or files or anything is like the first step I do now that I'm farther.
Yeah, well, there's 2 parts of that that I wanna speak to. One, the naming convention. I always like to date things first. So all of my files, may unless it's just truly not relevant, they get the date put on it. So 2025-02 for February. We're not just going to put 2, and then 01 for the first, if that's the day. So
Mhm.
you want those zeros in there. And when you do it and you format it that way every time, then when you're alphabetizing your files, you're also organizing them chronologically so you can quickly see where something was at. And then the next thing that I put after the name is the type of file. Is this a video? Is it an outline? Or just appointment notes or things like that. And then after that, I have a descriptive name. So there's so many different ways to find it, and you know exactly what that file is without even having to open it.
So you put all of that in the name of the file.
In the name of the file, yeah. So
Nice.
it's a little bit longer to do, but I've got a little app on my computer called Text Expander, and so all I have to do is hit semicolon date, and it fills in today's date in the exact same format every single time. And then I just put a dash in, and then put the category, and then the description of that file, and it's just so easy to find. It's another reason why I like
Yeah.
Google Drive is it'll actually pull up anything that is inside of a document. So you're talking about a pegboard. If you're taking notes every time you're talking to a client and you're working in their house, then and they talk about pegboard and you write that down, you talk about pegboard, all of a sudden it pulls up all of those different client files and you can open it up and see,
Mhm.
oh, I did that for them. Let me go and check those photos. Or this person's interested. Why don't I call them? It seems to be a pegboard month. So let's hit up the people who are interested in it.
I love that. That's actually a really like, I didn't realize it did that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing to know that, like, yes, it takes a little bit more time on the front end, but we are all we all have our back end office stuff. And a lot of us as organizers, we sit down to work on our back end. And one of the biggest questions I get is, well, what am I doing when I sit down? Right? Like, how am I growing my business? What are the next steps I'm doing? But it
Yeah.
sounds like this needs to be part of our office days, is naming our files or making sure that we are taking the time to categorize, organize, and just use our Google Workspace the way it's meant to be used. So in the future, we're not getting to a point where we're so bogged down, we don't know what to do, or we're so overwhelmed like our clients get, or
Mhm.
like I am currently.
Totally.
So what is, like, one of the biggest questions that you get as you, of people that are calling you that are, like, wanting help, or, what are, because I know for me, I get the same few questions kinda over and over. What are
Yeah.
your typicals?
Well, most people show up on a call with me because they're overwhelmed with email. There's
Oh,
there's
okay.
other stuff as well, but email is just completely out of control and they're drowning in it and they've typically been in an embarrassing situation because they dropped the ball somewhere because it's just lost and they're fed up and they start looking for someone. Occasionally that happens for files too. I mean, it's either email or files are the two biggest reasons why people reach out to me. And it's, how do you get this under control? And you know, do I need to just abandon this account and start with something fresh? And usually it's no, we can almost always recover that account, get it under control and move on because you don't want to have to change 200 logins. If you've got a
Right.
really established email address, it's, in trying to switch all that stuff, it sounds like a good idea at first, but it's usually not.
It's kinda like the people that call that they're like, "Just burn my house down. Just burn the house
Mhm.
down. I'm over it. I don't wanna deal with it." And it's like, "Okay, you still need somewhere to live. Like, let's just take it one step at a time. I'll get you there."
Yeah.
Um, oh my goodness. It's crazy how, like, when I saw the name of your business, which is the Digital Organizer,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my goodness, like, that's so cool." And actually, the girl that's helping me, the new with my emails, the VA, the member in my community, she loves digital stuff. And I kept
Yeah.
telling her, because my thing in the community for each person is like, I hate using the word niche or niche, whatever, like, but it is. It's like, find what you're passionate about, find what you enjoy doing. Because, like, for me, if I had your job, I would be so miserable every day when I woke up because I hate the digital stuff.
Yeah.
But, and maybe vice versa for you even, but because you found something that you enjoy and that your brain gets, and you created a business around it, then you're happy to work, you're excited, that energy gets put out, and then the right clients start to find you. I am actually kind of curious, how long did it take for your business to really start, like, making a decent income for you? And I only ask because a lot of people that are just getting started, I try to tell them, listen, 9 months to a year minimum that you need to
Yeah.
be before you're going to have any kind of consistency because you're starting a new business. But I know
Yeah.
for you, you kind of came from Apple over. So I was just kind of curious. Did
Yeah,
yours,
I'm sure someone can identify with my story, and that was working somewhere full time and then moonlighting, and having this other
mm-hmm.
gig on the side. And I did that for 6 years. So until I felt confident enough to leave and go full time. And what I did is I actually went down to part time, and then I was making more money part time in my business than I was when I was full time at Apple. And but that just happened to be at a peak. And when, in this any business like this is peak and trough going, and it's usually, if you're doing a good job, up and to the right, but you're still going to hit a low point. I was at a high point when I left Apple, and then all of a sudden it dropped down again. And, but I just kept at it, and referrals were really the biggest thing that kept me going. Is a few specific champions who just absolutely loved me and are loudmouths and really connected in the community, and we're just constantly sending people my way. And
I love that. I don't love that it took you 6 years, but a lot of us that are starting businesses, like I started mine as a side hustle too and kept my full-time job because we have
yeah.
bills to pay. And at first, it takes some time to get, the word out.
Hmm.
And, but the same what you said about like word of mouth referrals, everyone's so focused on social media. And yes, you need a social media presence 100%. But social media is not what's going to get you your everyday clients over and, like all the stuff. It's going to be when you do a great job for someone and they fall in love with what you've done. And then they
Hmm.
go tell their friends and their family members and all the people between, word of mouth referrals and Google. Honestly, I think that's 90 to 95% of my business are just those two things.
Hmm.
And then of course, like the way I have my website and like the way my verbiage and talking to people, you know, I have people that reach out and they're like, I read your website and I knew you were talking to me, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, because it matters. The stuff that we put out there, but I think, with social media, I think we always feel like, oh, we need another thing to, like, oh, I gotta put another piece of content out, another piece of content. And you do to a certain extent, but I don't think it has to be like on the daily like we think.
Right.
And I mention this because I think when a lot of us sit down to do our work, for our business, I think it would be better our time spent, yes, doing social media stuff, but taking some of that time to do this organization in our business the way that you've just, amazingly laid out for us how
Mhm.
important it is. And now you've grown a huge business with a team and all the stuff. And I'm sure like your back end is so organized because now you have to trust other people to do what you're doing, but you've taught them and you've shown them. And because you created your systems from the beginning, you're easily able to just bring them in and allow them to work with your clients now as well.
Yeah. I got a new coach set up in a week.
Nice.
I mean, and it was just like, wow, you've got, the last 2 people that I hired. It was just like, oh my goodness, this is so put together and neat, and I can just get started. It's just go in, learn our methodology, understand how we run a session, all of those things. And if you already have a lot of experience in training and the technical, or in at least like 2 of the 3 main things that we do, you can very quickly get up to speed because it's all laid out. Here are the resources. This is where we go. This is how we do it. And that's it. It's keeping it super simple. I love what you're saying though about the social media and everything like that. We do it just so that people know that we're alive and we're here.
Mhm.
because it's a sort of vetting, it's part of the vetting process, but it does not drive sales for me. And if you think
Mhm.
about how powerful is it to see someone's transformation story on Instagram when you're seeing dozens of them every time you open the app, for all these people who are trying to sell to you versus your friend saying, "Oh my God, I hired Samantha and she just transformed my garage and I'm so thrilled. I absolutely love it. You should totally hire this girl." They just pick up the phone and call Samantha. They're not
Mhm.
shopping for anyone else. They call you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the social media reinforces that. I think you can get business from that, but it is a lot of work to build a social media presence and a huge following.
Yeah. And 1,000%. And, I'm glad that you agree with me because, yes, for me, I look at my social media as almost like my portfolio. Like once someone
Mhm.
hears about me, they're looking me up, then they can go kind of check out my portfolio
Yeah.
more so than just like, oh, this is what's going to get me business. I have focused the majority of my stuff on Google and on making sure I'm doing an amazing client experience and like talking to people in the
Yes.
community.
Yeah.
That is what has grown my
Mhm.
business tremendously.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
oh my
let me
goodness.
just speak to this. Social media, spending your time on social media, very low conversion rate. Doing a stellar job communicating and giving your clients everything that they need, showing up, calling on time, answering emails. When you provide that good service, it's not just about the transformation. The transformation is great, but it's about the experience working with you. Everyone
Yes.
knows how horrible it is to work with construction or to do anything on your house. So people not showing what up. If you show up on time, you do a great job and you do what you say you do, that's half the battle. And then maybe potentially look into joining a networking group like BNI.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just went to one of their meetings and, going my plan, I haven't actually joined yet and I may at some
Mhm.
point, but I'm at least going to shop around cuz you can go to them like once or twice for free. And so I'm going to go to a few different meetings and at least kind of get to know some people a little bit until I find the right one. But the other thing is something as simple, and I'm sure you have your little things for your clients as well, but for
Yeah.
ours, something as simple as me being like, "Hey, I'm on my way." Like every client, I text them when I'm leaving so they know I'm on my way.
Yeah.
But I'm on my way. I would like to stop at Starbucks. What can I get you my treat?
Yeah.
That like a coffee from Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, they're like, "Oh my god, like that's amazing." Yeah, it's a $4
Mhm.
coffee. And like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, they're like so blown away that I would bring them a coffee. Like that
Yeah.
clients like talk about it later
Yeah.
after we've done sessions and
Yeah.
stuff. And for me, it's those little small things that
Mhm.
people are going to remember. And yes, the transformation matters, but exactly everything you said. And it's very hard to convey that on social media. Now, some people are genius at it. Some people, I don't know how they do it. They are gifted at being able to convey stuff on social. But for me, that is not me. And so
Yeah.
for me, I know if I'm in person having a one-on-one conversation, that's where I'm going to,
Yeah.
be able to shine. And so
Yeah.
knowing your strengths as well is huge. And then knowing, what you're not so great at, like for instance,
Mhm.
me with digital, which is why I had to reach out to someone like you, because sometimes you just have to reach out to, like, hey, I'm better at this other thing. So let me delegate what I'm not so great at to someone who is good at that thing. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, if I had a leak, it's so funny. I always use a plumber and I don't know why it's so random. But if I had a leak in my house, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, my basement's flooding. Let me watch YouTube and figure out how to fix it." No, I'm calling a plumber. We're gonna get it fixed.
Yeah, totally. It's
Yeah. But yeah, no, okay, so tell everyone about you, like where they can find you, all the good stuff, remind them of the freebie, and then again, make sure you all come join the membership because I cannot wait for your workshop because I have a feeling a lot of it's gonna be more Q&A than anything because all
sure.
all of my ladies are gonna be like, "All right, Shawn, what do I do for this? What do I do for this?"
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So you can find us at thedigitalorganizer.com. And I really encourage you to start with that landing page with the, slash POC at the end to get that guide. that'll get you some emails from me of just introduction more about our company, but then also there's some really great emails on with videos attached to them of how you can organize your email better and get on top of that. So I'm just giving away tons of stuff just all throughout that process. And I've got a quiz too that you can take of how organized are you, and that can give you some really great insight on where you should start. If you feel like you're a hot mess all over the place, go take the quiz, see where you should start, and dive into that. You can always email me to ask if I've got any other free resources that I can give to you as well. I'm always happy to give away what I can. And yeah, come and chat with us. And I would love to hop on a call if anyone is interested in getting some help. And if anyone's in the Nashville area and wants to trade, I got a shed where I make pottery, and I get really overwhelmed with trying to figure out how to organize some of this stuff in
Right?
physical spaces, and I can help you with the digital.
Yeah, isn't it amazing how it's exactly me on digital. I can
Mhm.
do this all day long in a home.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second I go digital, my brain's just like, "Wow." Like,
Yeah.
but for you, the second you look at your pottery area, which
Yeah.
is so cool
Yeah.
you do pottery, by the way. But the second you look at that, you're like, "Ah, now
Yeah.
what?" But,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
love it. Thank you so, so much for being on the show. I cannot wait to have you inside of the membership. And again, all of the links will be in the show notes for all of you. And we will definitely catch you in the next episode.
Thanks so much.